Came across a story today, and I thought we ought to follow this up. You know, we talked about off the top of the show the fact that so many people are struggling economically. We hear regularly about the price of groceries being so high. So someone decided to kind of do a little check here and say, let's say you can, you're one of those people who go buy perhaps most of your food at Dollarama. You're not buying fresh produce, but you're buying food there, and you think to yourself, can this be healthy? According to this article, maybe it can be. We wanted to find out more. Robin Glantz is a Montreal nutritionist and dietitian and is on the line. Hi, Robin.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. So look, I'm sure you've seen the story. I'm looking at a picture here of what they consider to be, I guess, the healthier foods that you can buy at a dollar store. They include things like there's a box of Rice Krispies. There's some Harvest Snap green peas. Everything here is obviously either in a can or, a prepared food item. So you've seen this. What do you think? Can you eat, and I'm going to use the word cautiously, relatively healthy in a Dollarama store?
Listen, I want to start by defining that word healthy, because I think that could be part of the problem, especially in this kind of diet culture environment we live in that's constantly telling us if it's processed, if it's packaged, it's inherently bad for you. I want to start by saying this is not necessarily the case, and especially now when budgets are tight, we can find a lot of nourishment, and in fact, often boxed or, foods, take cereal, for example, could actually have a lot of nutrition. They might be fortified and just might really help us out. And what I always say is that the real definition of eating healthy is eating enough. Eating and being fed, that is priority number one. So if people could find an affordable way to do that, we should never judge where it's coming from.
Okay, so just as you said, by virtue of the fact it's in a can, for example, or prepackaged. Now, the reason I bring that up is because people look at that and go, that item has been processed, and we're being told, of course, we should try to cut back on processed foods.
And this is it. There's a different degree of processing. Anything that's not literally being eaten straight from the fields has been processed to a certain extent for human consumption. I think what we're trying to get around is if it's a very what we call hyper-processed food with minimal nutritional value left to it, maybe that's not where we want to be getting the majority of our energy from. But, going back to something, like a grain that might have been fortified with extra iron or folate, there could actually be health benefits to the processing procedure.
So if you're doing your shopping, and I mentioned off the top, I think for the most part, you can't buy fresh produce at, say, a Dollarama store, although who knows, that may change. For right now, what is it you want to be buying there that we consider, relatively okay, nutritionally, that you could buy and not have to worry or think twice about?
Well, again, key staples for any meal to make it adequate, we always need a combination of some carbohydrate, because that's our primary energy. So looking for things that, like any dried pastas or grains, which we could find at a good price, will already be that great start. And then, of course, we want to get a bit of protein, ideally, because that's what's going to sustain us and help heal and repair our tissues. And so canned proteins, such as the canned tunas and fish, can be really helpful and very affordable, as well as beans. Beans are a great option. Now, the only issue, the downside with, canning is that there will be some sodium often with that. But
Right.
Giving your beans a rinse, even after you drain, if you quickly rinse your tuna, you could eliminate a lot of that and have a really filling, nourishing meal with some key staples from the dollar store.
Hold on a sec. So you're telling me for the can of tuna that I bought, if I want to eat that, I shouldn't just take that directly from the can, pour it on my salad. I should rinse that first?
If you have the means, if you're at home and you can, that will help eliminate a lot of the salt because it is water soluble.
What if I was going to say, if I don't add salt in my diet regularly, should I have to worry about the salt that's in there?
No, then I wouldn't worry. And again, if you are ever eating something a little saltier, you could also drink your water to help your body and your kidneys naturally eliminate that too.
Okay, so you're buying, if you could buy canned tuna or canned salmon, whatever happens to be obviously on sale, if that's the reason you're trying to buy these things, those are perfectly fine as is?
Absolutely.
Okay. What else would you be buying? I mentioned Rice Krispies right off the top, and I'm sure some people are listening going, Rice Krispies, wait a sec. I talk about heavily processed. That's just cereal. We should be feeding this or eating this if we don't have to. Is that not accurate?
Well, again, with all boxed cereals, Energy is energy. Now, yes, it's true that Rice Krispies doesn't have very much in the way of fiber. But if you look at the side of any of the big box kind of cereals, you're going to see a whole load of vitamin fortification. In fact, a lot of people get a significant amount of their daily iron to prevent things like anemia from processed grains, like not only cereal, but pasta. So yes, we could maybe try to find cereals that are maybe a little lower on the sugar mark and a little higher in the fiber mark. But boxed cereals usually will have a good, decent amount of nutrition to them.
Okay. What about oatmeal?
Oatmeal is wonderful, and that you can find. That is a grain that's completely whole. It's the grain of oat has been sliced and is wonderful for soluble fiber, which is great for lowering cholesterol, and very sustaining, lots of great energy from those carbs.
Okay, last thing, because we're going to run out of time. Just saying, if I wanted to buy a bag of chips, how bad is that for me?
Listen, as an anti-diet dietitian, I always say that pleasure has benefits too. And listen, you and me both love my potato chips. Here and there is absolutely a yummy way to get a little bit of energy into.
And there's no such thing as a good or bad or better or worse potato chips. A chip's a chip, right?
Chips are chips, and like I said, we don't always make our judgments on what we're going to eat purely on health.
Right.
We have to base it also on what we're in the mood for and what's tasty. That's part of being human.
We will leave it at that. Robin, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays to you.
Introducing Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
Join me for an insider look on a wild ride through 40 years of global rock and roll.
Bryan Adams Radio. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app. Or ask your smart speaker to play Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Who's ready to rock?
Kids wanna rock.